I want to hear what people they talk. What you get, I shall kill it till love. This love when I want to get another one, I go take and do it in I love. Waiting you love, oh. Maybe waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do what we done my heart, oh. Go no be vodka. Mr. Money Changer. But when I know the ways that
Welcome once again to Political Justice. I am your host, Ayuri Inga Agana. Joining me here today to do that justice to most of the political issues in our dear country, Ghana, are my esteemed panelists, Dr. James Amemaso, professor at Rutgers University, New Jersey, Hajia Sharifa Strong, a counselor and advocate for women and children's affairs, Dr. Ni Ama Okai, professor of mathematics at Appalachian State University, North Carolina, and last but not least, Dr. Zita Seshi, a sociologist based out in Canada. Panelists, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this evening we're just going to go straight to the point. No time to waste. I mean, the goal of this show is to deliver political justice for our country. And what we mean by political justice is basically direct the state to achieve its ultimate objective. And the ultimate objective of the state is the good life for everyone. A life that removes all the unfreedoms, that enables everyone to live the life that they cherish. So without further ado, I want us to go straight to the first issue here today. We want to hold the feet of politicians to the fire. Let them live by the standards that they claim that they want to ensure for our country. And so we begin on this note with the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. With respect to, there's a video. I mean, I don't know where he was at, but there's a video that is in circulation where he is talking about how, for instance, he is, he has been adjudged the best vice president in the history of Ghana. So I want our producer to play that video, and then we would, digest the issue.
We have not yet done it all, but we are starting. If you are looking for problem solver to be president of the republic, then I am the one that you should look at. I have a very solid track record in terms of what I've done as vice president. Remember, I've not yet been president. I don't have that authority, but I am vice president. And if you look at my track record as vice president, most people say that I am probably the best vice president in this country's history because of my track record. So I believe that I have not been, if you give me, because I try to do things, because my mindset is one of possibilities. I am never afraid to take on new and daunting challenges. If I see that a country has this, I ask, why can't Ghana also have that?
Well, I've been joined by Miracle Sabuaje, the best vice president Ghana.
All right. Well, there we go. So Bawumia says he's the best vice president in the history of Ghana. I don't know what the metric is. And I don't know if there's a body out there that came out with that judgment, basically comparing him with other vice presidents in the history of Ghana. But, you know, this is a man who, for instance, we are all aware of the speech that he gave at UPSA when he was unraveling his vision for the 2024 campaign. Mm-hmm. And he said he was a driver's mate. He wasn't in the driver's seat. Yet somehow he's at the same time able to sort of distinguish his achievements as a vice president from the overall achievements of this administration. So, I mean, what is going on here? How is he able to winnow out those achievements from the overall achievements of his party? Obviously, he's trying to distance himself from the achievements of the NPP. Mm-hmm. So how is he able to do that? And I'll throw this question to Hajia Sharifa.
Oh, man. Thank you, Professor, for making us have a good laugh. As you can all tell from my voice, I've been under the weather for some days now, but I would have been so pained if I missed this program today. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be on your show. But isn't that laughable? I couldn't hold back when I was listening to him. As always, you know, it's evident that Bawumia is a walking contradiction, a talkative, an empty talkative, a liar for that matter, and a flip-flopper. You know, here is a man who led the country to the gutters because of his many talks, the unending promises. We're talking about the one district, one dam, one district, one factory, 200 schools. We're going to give every child in Ghana a laptop, of school-going age, a laptop, and even teachers. Look, up until last month, that I got to know that teachers were actually taxed. They were taking some contributions from teachers for a percentage from teachers to make up for the laptops that were not even yet delivered, yet they were deducted. Bawumia has been the problem of Ghana from the conception of the NPP, Nana Addo Bawumia government, to the end where they are today. So I don't know who he's lying to. You know, he reminds me of the era of Trump, where Trump said, I could stand in the middle of Times Square and shoot somebody and nobody can, and then I'll still win the election. I guess that's how he feels. That delusion is driving him to make comments without thinking. You know, as I said the last time, somebody needs to sit Bawumia down to, you know, make him rethink some of the things he's saying and look back to his history. What history is he talking? I mean, track record is he talking about? The economic crisis that we are faced today, the disenfranchising of Ghanaian citizens that we are forced to accept today, the economic meltdown that we are forced to see today, or which track record? You know, talking about the delivery, that wish list or wish that he delivered at UPSA, did you see Bawumia make mention of Agric in his delivery? When we all can agree and know that Agric is the trust in the future of our economy and of Ghana. 50 to 60% of our employment comes from agri, our exports. Okay, our manufacturing sector, they all are dependent on agri. But he dodged that completely because he's afraid to make more, to bring out more things that he can accomplish. So therefore, he has nothing to offer Ghanaians. Bawumia should shut up, go and sit down and allow people to work. We are still trying to come up to the realization that it was all a fallacy. Bawumia told us that and his government told us that in 18 months we are going to transform Ghana. The only thing he's been able to confuse Ghanaians, which I'm glad NDC or the rest of the country woke to, is the digitization nonsense that he's, peddling and selling to our country. Someone laid a foundation for you. It's just like when we're in school, and please forgive me for bringing this nasty scenario in, the shit on shit kind of thing in schools. Somebody laid a foundation and you have no choice but to come in and build up on it. What contribution did Bawumia make in Ghana? What initiative has Bawumia taken on his own to boast of that this was my initiative, this is a legacy, or this is something that if I am not in government that I will be remembered of? Except the lies, except the deceit, except the constant insults, except the constant reminder of the pain. Today, when you go to the outside, the country, and you just talk to ordinary Ghanaians, they will tell you how regretful they are for giving these people the mandate in the first place to mess us up the way it is. So Bawumia has nothing to offer Ghanaians. There's nothing new he has told us that would, be different from what he has done. It's a repetition of what he has done before. And, if we make a mistake and allow him, today I'm not the driver, I'm the mate. What difference are you from the mate of yesterday and the mate that you'll be? Because we all know that you will not be driving anything when you are given the mandate, because you've been dictated to the point you have lost your credibility. That fiber that holds you to as a person, to your religion, to your people, that's one, you've lost it. So what is he talking about? I mean, I beg to differ from that. I'm not sure Bawumia knows what he's talking about. And nobody should ever take Bawumia serious. He's a liar. That's been established.
All right. Thank you, Hajia. And we know that Bawumia was sort of the most acrobatic cheerleader of the NPP even before they came into power, right? From 2008 till, let's say, I mean, he has kind of receded into the background, but there was no, the NPP, in the history of the NPP, they've never had an athletic cheerleader as they had in Bawumia. There's no auditorium of a university in Ghana that he didn't visit to deliver a lecture, essentially trying to sort of claim that when the NPP comes into power, they are going to be miles apart from the NDC, right? So is it really possible for somebody who led the way in terms of NDC's, the articulation of NPP's vision for the future, and having them come into power and perform in this abysmal form, to really try to distance himself from the administration? Is that even possible? And I mean, would it be the most democratic thing to do, to essentially say that the administration has performed poorly, but the vice president can actually, position himself in a way that he can, lead Ghana towards a better future? I mean, it's something I'm struggling with the question just because of the fact that what Bawumia is trying to do might be an impossibility. So, but I want you to take it from there.
Chairman, is it me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. So, for me, I think maybe, as a statistician and all that, I just want to maybe look at the group or why he's making that kind of statement. For example, he said he's the best vice president. So maybe he's actually talking about the best vice president when you look at the MPP, and maybe that might be true. He probably is comparing in the Fourth Republic. He's comparing himself with the other vice president MPP has produced. But if you look at in general, all the vice presidents we've had, it's true that when MPP were coming to power, most people, and I'm one of this group where I kind of gave the benefit of the doubt to the MPP because of somebody like Baumia, and it's because of all his track record, right? He was, deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, and he was able to actually articulate the problems we face in the country brilliantly, right? Talking about the 170 questions he was asking in all his speeches, talking about how he's going to arrest the dollar and put the keys in away, right? All of that. But for me, one thing that defines Bawumia in this eight-year period, it's a simple word, and that's, I'm sorry to say, this guy, he's spineless. He's spineless because most of the major things that has happened in this country, we don't see him coming to talk about it. And for example, you look at the e-levy. This guy sat on radio interviews and a lot of presentations where he was basically talking about from taxation from we are going to move from taxation to production. He said it wasn't good for us to tax mobile money because we are trying to move away from the cash economy to a cashless economy, right? But what did he do? They tried to bully their way into passing this memo, and they got it done. And we didn't see this guy. We didn't hear of him. But we had reports that he was the main proponent of the policy, and people like the communication minister came to say he was in support of it. When he decided to bring out his policy, now he's saying he's going to kind of abolish or remove the e-levy when he's president. And for me, it's just a sign of somebody who is spineless or somebody who doesn't know what they are doing, right? If you really believe that policy is wrong, you needed to come out against it before it was passed. But you waited for the policy to be passed, and then you are trying to tell us, I've created a problem. Now, make me a president, and I'm going to remove the problem, right? So again, if the standard is somebody who lies, because as I've said, he lied about taxing Momo, he lied about arresting the dollar, he lied, and they are continuing to lie to Ghanaians even in this period of doom. So just the fact of giving Ghanaians a timetable for people to be able to plan, for businesses to plan, for people to be able to plan and live a good life even in the midst of all this doom. So, and that's why sometimes you think about some of the decisions that Mahama took to actually allow the timetable to be brought out so that everybody can plan. You think about that and you think, okay, this is the reasonable thing to do, but this folks are saying no. We are not going to give you a Doomso timetable because it's not Doomso. Trying to, again, as I mentioned last time, gaslight Ghanaians to think that we are the crazy people. It's a mark of somebody who is spineless, somebody who lies, and I do not think for 1 second that he's anything near the best thing or the best vice president that Ghana has ever had. Unless we are talking in terms of opposites, then maybe, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I would give him credit for was the fact that he was able to clearly, articulate whenever he took the podium at any university to deliver his lectures, his PowerPoints were very systematic. And, I can give him credit for that. But in terms of, real actions on the ground, there's very little to attribute to him as, success and to base judgment of he being the best president vice president ever on that, right? But Bawumia hasn't stopped making promises. There's another video that I want us to watch, and then it will set us off in terms of the direction that we'll go next. So if our producer can play the next video of Bawumia
going to
again.
grant a tax amnesty to all businesses and individuals and start afresh. Clean slate. We're going to start with a clean slate in 2025. And that is why in 2025, we are going to grant a tax amnesty to all businesses and individuals and start afresh. All businesses and individuals will have a tax amnesty, and we will start afresh.
So Bawumia says a clean slate. Who is going to clean the already messy slate for him to start? That's the question, right? And then, are we to believe him based on history? Zita, this goes to you. I'm lost for words.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's good to see my colleagues here for us to continuously dissect Ghana's political terrain. I would think that even if we apply for a job, we show a CV, and the purpose of a CV is to kind of evaluate your previous work, right? That is what it's standard practice. And I would assume that if you want to be president of Ghana, you are going to serve in the highest capacity, but you're still, an employee of the state. And so by virtue of that, you need to show us your CV so we can be confident we are hiring the best man for the position. So I don't know if it's selective amnesia or, our honorable vice president is growing too old. But saying that you're going to start from a clean slate, it doesn't make sense. We have to judge you on your previous performance to be able to say that you are the competent person for the job. So there's nothing like a clean slate. You were the vice president, which is also instrumental, as that is the next person after the president. And therefore, I do not understand this Bawumia sudden isolation and separation from the track record of the MPP. That does not make sense. And again, it's a disrespect and an insult to the intelligence of well-meaning Ghanaians and educated Ghanaians like us. And so it doesn't make sense. He will not have a clean slate, and he cannot grant any tax amnesty. That's another, again, empty lies and empty promises, again, by a political aspirant. The same was done with the free SHS program, which we will get into later. But again, like Nii rightly said, he was part of the whole e-levy process. And for those watching who are not Ghanaians, e-levy is a 1.5% tax that is put on all electronic money transfers for purposes of those who are not Ghanaians and are watching. And so he was instrumental, and that is currently being taxed. The tax is currently, ongoing, and we are being charged. However, living in a country like Canada that is heavily taxed, for me, it's not so much about the tax. It's what they said they were going to use the money for. They were going to use it to internally generate revenue for development and also to create jobs. Have that been the case? Absolutely not. And so there is no faith, in Bawumia and his ability to, eliminate or give people, give businesses and individuals tax amnesty. That's again another lie. But we know how politics are done in Ghana. People will throw empty promises out there, hoping it will stick, hoping that somebody who is not well informed and not knowledgeable will buy into that false idea. Bawumia doesn't have any existing robust data on how to grant a tax amnesty to businesses, to individuals. And so I think that he's suffering from selective amnesia. And I think as a country, we need to be more cautious. We need to be skeptical, and perhaps, I'm sorry to say, perhaps a psych evaluation or something, because his utterances are not landing well with me. So I think that he will not get a clean slate. When you want a job, we have to look at your CV and judge you on your past performance. per the records now, he's not capable of granting any individual or any business tax amnesty.
All right, thank you, Zita. I mean, James, will Bawumia's hook catch any fish? Because from what I can see, it looks like the guy is on. He's gone fishing, and he's throwing hooks all over the place. You are muted, James.
Thank you, Mark, for the opportunity once again. I must apologize. It's raining here heavily, so it's affecting my internet output. But having said that, Dr. Bawumia, as we always call him, Dr. or DMD, he has credibility problem. Let me just put it that way. All right, very big gap. There's a big gap between him and credibility. Right, this is the man who has said all kinds of things about Ghana. And by the way, let me just state that host Mark, when you were talking about Dr. Bawumia, give him credit for his performance, his clean, good slides, PowerPoint slides. Yes, anybody who is determined to put the PowerPoint slides together will do that. I don't see him as a very distinguished person. I don't give him any credit for that, really, because we all can do that and lie through our teeth to get whatever we say. But having said that, saying that he's going to start everything afresh on a clean slate is an admission that his policies have not worked, right? It's an admission that if he's saying clean slate, then it means whatever he did these past 8 years, he only, bamboozled Ghanaians. He only confused them, and admitting that he has not performed well. His performance has exposed his lies. And so let's put that there. Secondly, but what are the implications of whatever Dr. Bawumia is doing? What are the deeper implications? First and foremost, I think he's taking Ghanaians for granted. Like, Zita said, Dr. Zita, he's insulting the intelligence of Ghanaians. That he could say all these things for 8 years, turn around and tell them, look, you know what? Let's start on a clean slate. What is he hiding? We know he has slates that are really polluted, damaged, to the point where we have to see them. He cannot run away from his performance these past 8 years. Secondly, it is telling us what Bawumia is capable of doing. He has the audacity to tell us that he will going to start everything on a fresh note. That is audacity. That is being very audacious. Thirdly, it's about the lies that he is able to tell. And that's where all Ghanaians must be watchful. He's going to tell us all kinds of lies. If he's able to do this, what we've seen of him, it tells us he has not even achieved what he's capable of doing in terms of lying, in terms of his credibility. I don't see Bawumia as a credible person at all. There's a big gap between him and credibility. And all political parties in Ghana, NDC in particular, and all Ghanaians must watch this man carefully. I think the NDC has to go after him, in a way that has never been done before about his credibility. He's lying to all of us. He's insulting us in our face. That is unacceptable. That cannot be tolerated. And so we all have to work very hard to confront these lies and nip it in the bud. Otherwise, it's going to take us for granted and run the country, poison the country from its roots up to the upper level of it. We can't tolerate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bawumia is making it sound as if words don't mean anything anymore, right? You can just say anything and shouldn't expect people to hold you up to your words, right? But let's move on to the slate, right? What's on the slate? That Bawumia wants to be wiped clean, and I think one of the current cabinet ministers can help us answer that question. Mr. Asenso Boakye was asked in an interview about what the NPP had done for his home region, and I think he had difficulty with that question. So if our producer can play us that clip, and then we can, set us off in a conversation with respect to what is on the slate that Bawumia wants wiped clean.
That the MPP has done in the Ashanti region, as I watch. The Kumasi Airport. Now it's an international airport.
Kumasi Airport. So that's one. We're saying projects.
Many.
So we have 4 more to go.
Even the revival of Obuasi Goldfish and the employment that's created for young people in the area. It's amazing.
Major projects that the NPP has done in the Ashanti region. Kumasi Airport, yes.
I just mentioned the revival of Ashanti Gold.
Oh, but Ashanti Gold was there. Yes, we are creating employment and all of that. But projects, monumental project that we can say, okay, yes, you talked about roads. I talked about Kumasi Airport. You know, people will also go and say KJT Market, Mahama did it. He did. So for you, 5 projects. You are a minister in the Ashanti region. 5 projects.
Apologize. I'm continue.
I mentioned the Konfonoche maternity block.
Yeah, you're not telling me.
Yes, which is currently under construction,
it's under construction.
Oh, yeah.
8 years.
It's under construction, but it takes time to raise funds to construction and all that. So, I mean, the most important thing is that it has started and it will be completed. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we are talking about breaking the 8. That's why I'm asking you all of this. The implications of it.
I apologize.
So I know it can take 20 years to do that, but you want to break the 8. So the projects that you have done.
Well, so Hajia, is it that Asansu Boachi didn't prepare for the interview, or it's the case that the initiatives are non-existent, or perhaps he's just not somebody who is able to articulate himself properly, and that would be odd, in my opinion, for a politician.
You know, to begin with, I love Asensu Boachi. He's one of my favorites in the MPP. But politics aside, okay, it's just hard to watch. I think one of the most hardest and difficult work to do now in Ghana is being a MPP defender or politician, because it's so hard. There's nothing more to tell anybody or to say to convince anyone anymore. You know, time is up, the gig is up, the cup is full, and it's time to pack and go. He's not struggling. It's just because there's nothing to, show. There's nothing to mention. There's nothing, to project. And he's been himself. And I want to thank Bolore for putting him on the spot, because journalists should be doing this for Ghana to wake up. But because they are so in other people's pockets, they've been shying away from that, but rather putting divisive materials that is further damaging our country. The right questions should be asked. These people should be put on their feet to take accountability of the things or the wrongs they've done to Ghanaians. He's struggling because they have achieved nothing. Remember during the 2020 election year, people were grabbing toilets and kuraba and other things as achievement for the MPP. What are all that supposed to mean to a Ghanaian? John Mahama came and his concentration was on infrastructure, was on health, was most importantly your children's education. You said, no, Yempe, we don't want that. We are Kans, we are Shantis. We want someone who can relate to us. We want someone who is from our area. So even if you put a goat, we hear them. Even if you put a goat, you put a donkey, you put a dog, here, we will vote. As long as the person is an Ashanti, we would vote. Mahama is, yes, the Tani, the Northerner whose father was a cattle, a sheep, whatever they called him. Supposedly the incompetent man was the man who gave them, for the benefit of who gave the people of Ashanti or dignified the people of Ashanti, gave them roads, gave them a place to go and have a sound mind to do their business, which is the KJT market, built them hospitals, did a lot for them. So there's nothing that anybody can go and say. It's just a shame that they are so ethnocentric that for them, it's all about their accounting. But I think, like I said, our appeal is sinking in. Some of them are now waking up and realizing that they've been taken for granted and taken for fools. Just look at the recent begging Otunfo, the king of the Ashanti kingdom, going about begging for money to rehabilitate a hospital that was built by another visionary leader. Isn't that sad? And even the one that was completed for people to go in, that's been left out in the wood to rot, that one, they weren't able to accommodate people there to at least give them decent place to be able to recuperate from their sicknesses and all that. So I think it's about time they come out and say, look, we accept responsibility for the wrongs that we've done. We accept that is what is killing me. And that is what people I don't get about people when Bawumia comes out and talk and they still shamelessly walk around him, you know, with their chest out, insulting people and daring people for insulting him. There was a guy from the north who insulted Fifi Kote, basa, just because he called Bawumia a liar. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's say it as it is. You know, Bawumia has lied. He has been lying. He always lies and is there. So what this guy was trying to avoid was to be called a liar. What was he going to say? That they built Kejetia, that they built Menchia, that they built the Rose. And because of Bawumia today we can travel freely between Kumasi and Accra without any delay. So, I mean, I think it's him struggling is just from the fact that he doesn't want to be laughed out further. He doesn't want for people to call him the names that Bawumia is being called today. He doesn't want anybody to question his credibility. So that's why he's lacking. There's nothing for them to show. They have no plans to build anything. The 200 schools, we are still waiting on them. The roads, we are still waiting on them. They will say they did the KJT, what's the name? The runabout. That's what they are saying. But it's not even anywhere near completion where they can knock or boast or beat their chest to say, okay, we did this. So what we saw as Asubuachi going through is because there's nothing to point out as a legacy that would follow them to their graves if today they come out of power. And that is what I want our brother to sit down, Bawumia to sit down and also question himself. If these people are running away from the lies, why am I the one being pushed to tell them? So yeah, what we saw was just him being cautious of his conscience and then struggling to, you know, defend his the mess his government put on Ghana.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I understand the history of the NPP in terms of how its political genealogy from the NLM, the National Liberation Movement, and the nature of the NLM and how it was formed and its transition to the current day NPP. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that anybody who grew up in Ashanti region would be an NPP supporter. But in recent times, I'm beginning to see a shift. I've met a lot of young people who are no longer, you know, tied, if so to speak, to the party of their parents. They feel liberated and they feel like they can choose any political party that sort of aligns with their personal values and future goals. So, and also, it's evident from Asante Boachi's failure to articulate, you know, what the NPP has done in Ashanti, that in fact they have done nothing. So, is this Ashanti region a toss-up? Is it open to NPP votes in this coming election? So, Ni, I want you to you know, tackle the issue from Asante Boachi's position, but also, you know, speak to the political aspect, the political implications of what has just happened.
You know, Chairman, thank you. You know, the funny thing, right? I feel the NDC always try to overcompensate. It's like, you know, the young guy, the girl, you want to, you know, you want the girl to like you too, right? So you try to go overboard, you know, try to impress the girl. I think that's the problem of the NDC, right, with Ashanti region. And this guy called A+, give me a few minutes to list all the things he posted on his I think Facebook page. Kumasi KJT, and this is stuff he said Mahama did, and I'm not being political here. Kumasi KJT, Tafo Market, Asawase Market, Atonsu Market, Sewa Hospital, Afari Military Hospital, Formina Hospital, Bekwaya Hospital, Asawasi Roads, Swami Roads, Tafu Roads, Kenyasi Roads, High School Junction, Jinasi Roads, Bomso to High School Roads, Kote to Ayedwase to Campus, KNUST Roads, Emina to Boedi Road, Apromasi to Ejusu Road. I'm getting some of the names bad, but please forgive me. Bonray Junction to Bonray Road, Aprade to Parakoso Road, Tikrom to Baworo to Antwa Road, Bekwai Town Road, near Dubiasi Town Road, Bonfa Junction to Asiwa Road, Bekwai to Asiwa Road, Kumewu to Drobosu Road, Tepamanfo to Subrusu to Fanti Road, Parakoso Community Day School, Agrek Enzima Community Day School, Banka Community Day School, Ado Biwa Community Day School, Edujama Community Day School, Drobonso Community Day School, Bonsoche Oyoko Community Day School. This one the name I cannot mention. Offenso Community Day School, Adanse Fomso Community Day School, Adanse Ejapa Community Day School, Tepamanfo Community Day School, Ejura Community Day School, Kumewu Hospital, Tepa Hospital, Konongo Hospital, Kumewu Water Supply, Konongo Water Supply. I'm even tired of mentioning all these things, right? And this has been the problem. And last time somebody was complaining that NDC don't do some of the things they do for Ashanti region, for Volta region, and that NDC is taking Volta region for granted. And it's true, right? We do all this, NDC will do all these things for Ashanti region, and they do not repay because, of course, it's Ashanti region, it's a stronghold of the NDC, of the MPP. So I guess politics is a game of numbers. So I understand why Mama was trying to do all these things, just to, because 2 + 2 is 4, right? So if you get some 2 from somewhere and add 2 from other regions, I mean, it push you up. And I understand the strategy, and I wouldn't fault it. But at some point, the support they are giving Ashanti region, they should also give some of their strongholds like Volta region and the likes. And that's what I'll say from here. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Zita, what's your take on this matter? Is the NDC trying to overcompensate in its efforts in Ashanti? Shouldn't the national cake be shared equitably across the country, irrespective of who votes for you?
Thank you so much. Nee, it's like you have a spiritual antenna and you're hiding in my space right now, because I have the same list here, 44 things that the NDC has done in the Ashanti region. And like rightly my colleague Dr. Nee said, wives don't get treated well, side chicks get treated better. Yes, the Volta region is the wife of the NDC, but the side chick, which is the Ashanti region, gets everything. So that is why I'm not yet a wife, because the side chicks, we get it better. So definitely the MPP is the NDC is overcompensating, but they say that Akoko Sachra Kromakra Enyenefe, no matter what the NDC does, the Ashanti region and most Ashantis will not be impressed, because we are in a politics of what ethnicity and tribalism. Even if you put a goat on the on the ticket of the MPP, Ashantis will vote. And I say this as somebody whose sister-in-law is an Ashanti, as an Ewe married into an Ashanti family. I say this saying that Ashantis have this aura that Ghana belongs to them, and that is why we had the whole no can no vote, and this political menace called Cheddar being given opportunity to sit and saying he's going to dredge a sea into Kumasi and create a port, and he's being supported. That is an introduction into the psychology of the Akan speaking group in Ghana, and that they're not looking at proven record, they are looking at tribal sentiments and tribal alliance and allegiance. And so this is a warning to the NDC that we, your wife, the people of the Volta region, as a daughter of the land of the Volta region, I demand that we also see a list. Right now, Dr. Nee, I'm going to write a petition and a letter to former President Mahama. I want to see the list for my own people as well, because I'm hoping someday I can stand for Ketu South. The current MP should watch out. But
Zita is serving notice.
Yes, to Jifa Gomashi. I am a daughter. I'm going to stand for Kempis.
Watch it. That is my sweetheart.
Thank you. Well, she should watch it because it's all about credibility and who can do the job. And I believe I can deliver. But the point is, the Volta region needs dire development, and we have been neglected because we are the supportive wives and the side chicks are always taking it away.
Okay. Well, I mean, James, look, I met a young man recently who told me that he's from Kumasi, and then he said the NPP is for old people, that he's an NDC guy. So I think there's positive signs that NDC can make inroads in Ashanti. So again, from my experience, I'm witnessing a shift, and I totally understand. I have very good friends who are strong NPP folks and all that. And I completely understand the reason why people in Ashanti grow up to automatically become NPP folks, right? But I'm beginning to see a shift. And people are open-minded about which political party they think they want to align with. And so, I mean, I want you to take it from there. And then can the NDC make inroads in Ashanti?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, NDC can and will make a huge inroad in Ashanti region. When you see the Asante Hine himself out there begging for money, like, my sister Hajia said, asking people to donate so he could repair or renovate the hospital that was built by Kwame Nkrumah, Konfo Hospital, then something is happening, right? And so a lot of Ashantis, a lot of people in the Ashanti region, I would say all the Ashantis people, of course, Ashanti region is the bedrock of the NPP we know, but a lot is changing, particularly when you have a presidential candidate who promised you 1D, 1F, that's one district, one factory, and has not delivered. A candidate who promised 1V, 1D, that's one village, one dam, and has not delivered. And when a candidate with his boss promised to build a national cathedral and has not done that, and spent money to dig the most expensive hole in the world, which is still lying there, something is happening. When the presidential candidate that promised to build, for instance, harbors, one toilet for every village has not delivered, then there's a problem. When you have a presidential candidate that still around, claiming he was just a mate, not the driver, and of course, doing so is all over again and again and again, there's a problem. If you don't have electricity, when you're in the Ashanti region, you don't have your electricity working for 24 hours for you. And the person who has run the show for 8 good years, almost 8 years, so-called mate, and is now promising you new things, then there's a problem, right? Like my sister Rita said, Zita, side chicks, when you promise them again and again and again, of course, the woman is going to leave you at some point, right? So the Ashanti region is the wife of the NPP, but they've seen the light, and so things are changing. And they know very well, for instance, that the NPP is now what a lot of Ghanaians call the new poison party. What they've done is they've poisoned the roots of the country, the institutions of the country. Nothing is working, and Bawumia is trying to tell us he's going to have a new slate. That is dangerous. Of course, Asante Boache's problem is just a microcosm of the NPP problem. Whatever he was not able to tell was the problem that Bawumia is facing. Right? I just said that articulately. And so my point is that, yes, NDC is going to make a big inroad. What these guys are trying to do is to steal the vote. So if NDC will find a way to check them, make sure that, they keep them on their toes, that's the end. They have nothing to offer, only lies and lies and lies. Dr. Bawumia is good at that. All right? And he is the presidential candidate. So NDC can make a huge inroad, better than before, because the time is ripe. The people in the Ashanti region have seen the lies that their leaders can tell. And so they're going to vote for NPP, for NDC. Let me correct myself. All we have to do, all NDC has to do, is to make sure that we position ourselves, position the party, and then get things done.
If I may come in a little bit.
Yes.
Thank you. You see, for me, I want to, kind of look at it from another angle about this wife and side chick thing. when he took the oath and swore the oath of allegiance as the president, I'm talking about ex-President Mahama, he took the oath as the president of the whole country of Ghana. He did not take the oath to just represent a group of people or a region or a class of people. He was to represent the entire country. So for me, I see that wherever he thought needed development, he went there, and he was doing it progressively from one. If you go to Volta region, there are some development. There's a university that was built. There are roads, there are that, but we want to see more. I think we have to give him credit for that. If you go to the other areas, there are more things that he has done, which time will not permit us to mention. It's not enough. But yet, you imagine if he had gone to the north to develop the north like he's done for the south. If he had gone to the Volta region to develop the Volta region or the central region or where Madame Lordina comes from and not develop Ashanti region, don't you think Ashantis would have had a reason to prove their point that this is why they stand by their own? Now they gave their own the mandate. And what did he do? He stabbed them right in the back. So I think the question now, look at the by-election that happened. You can see that it was a pivotal movement where people were waking up saying that, no, we've been taken for granted. Some MPs will go to some areas now and they will come out and sack them. Go, we are tired of you. So yes, there's that marriage, but then that's why there's divorce, and that's the beauty of life. I think some of them are beginning to break off from that placenta and say that, look, enough is enough. For our king to be reduced to this ridicule, for our mothers to be dying on the floor from childbirth, for our children to be sitting on the floor with flood water and other things, writing exam, for them to be fed with mold infested and beetle infested food, we need to sit up and do something. Yes, there will be a change, but it will start slowly. I'm sure John Mahama's next government would be a concentration on the other underdeveloped areas where, yes, because at the end of the day, it's still Ghana. Ashanti region is part of Ghana. Northern region is part of Ghana. Volta region is part of Ghana. But then all people are saying is, go where your heart is. Go where the people have the love for you. Look at what happened during the flooding in Volta region. He went there and then boldly, a very divisive rhetoric, said that you didn't vote for me. Was that necessary? This was at a moment where they needed somebody to comfort them, somebody to speak to their heart, somebody to give them something to hold on to, hope. This president went there and told them, you didn't vote for me, arrogantly, disregarding their pain, disregarding the loss that they were suffering, just to rub it in. You didn't vote for me. Now you are calling me to come here. And know the difference. When John Mahama went there, he spoke to them. It's going to be a long time recovery, but we need to begin somewhere. We need a president who can speak to people to bring them back home. So we are speaking to the people of Volta region for the sake of our country, not for the political parties. Do the right thing, do the needful, vote wisely, make choices that represent us, make choices that would help improve on our growth, on our economy, on our children's life, give them quality education and all that. Yes, as far as Mahama choosing where to, begin with, I think it was a very good strategic move, and that has exposed MPP a lot, especially this president who boldly came out and said, "Yetisikastu Nancy Yebre Kumi Preku," here and there. And today they gave you the emblem of the light that you've been looking for. What did he do with it? He went to Chebi, he went to his country, and then and developed there as if there's no other place in Ghana but there. So Ashantis are waking up. They've seen how he's treated them disrespectfully, and I'm not sure they would make the same mistake again. And I love President Mahama for that, because he never put his people first before any other place. And that is what a good quality of a leader should be.
Okay.
Mark,
thank you. Yeah.
I beg to disagree to some extent with Hajam. Excellent submission. But again, my father died in 2022, and we used the term, I come from Aflau, so we're close to the border. The road is bad. The road is bad. And so this is an appeal to, I understand that he's trying to, and Nee said it excellently. You see, the side chicks and the little girls, they get better treatment, but it is too much. It is too much. It gets to extent the wife will get up who holds everything down, and we will leave. So we need the roads to be fixed, because when I had to go to Ghana and see my father's grave, because we couldn't go just a few days after the burial. I mean, we are all from America. My brother, I have two brothers in America. My older brother was complaining. It's like, oh, because he left Ghana almost close to 15 years, and hasn't gone to the village. And so I was like, and I was in Ghana in 2017 to take development to my hometown. I went to do a girls' education project. I donated books, pens. It's actually a documentary, and the documentary has won the Hollywood Independent Documentary Award. It is in the Library of the Canadian Parliament, because my research was partly funded by the Canadian Parliament, and I went there to do something, and the roads were bad in 2017, and going back in 2022 to go see my father's grave, when that is an emotional time, the roads were bad, and it took us long to get there. The potholes everywhere. So please, we are, and NPP has shown that as for, they don't need to, they don't need to impress with the Voltarians on any grounds. They don't need to impress us. So they didn't make an effort to prioritize us. But I hope that as things are changing, if the NTC come into power, that would be one of the things that I wish they do, that at least they make the road from Tema to Aplawu quite motorable.
Is that an appeal? If that's the case, I'm also appealing for the Boko roads, because I'm partly from Boko too. I have sat on that road to go bury my grandparents, and it's not easy. When you come back, you have backache and neck aches and all that. Yes, I agree. I share your sentiment, but then for my point is, there shouldn't be a think of where he should begin from or he should begin with. He's developing Ghana. That's how we should look at it. At the end of the day, Ashanti region happened to be the most developed, according to what Dr. Nee presented, which is a fact. They are there to be verified. So I think if President Mahama is listening to us, our people are saying they are getting almost out of patience for you. If you have plans, let it out and let us know, so that at least we would be hopeful to give you the mandate. So this should be communicated to him. Thank you.
Okay. So, but I would imagine that the side chicks are not happy this evening. They are catching stray bullets. But again, I mean, so let's move to more serious issues. I mean, not to say what we were just discussing isn't serious, but at this point, I don't know. I mean, those of you who have experience of being in a classroom, have you had a situation where you went and bought a permanent marker and used on the whiteboard instead of, the one that you could wipe out? At this point, it almost seemed like that might be Bawumia's plight, in this particular moment. And we're still focusing on the things on the ground, not the rhetorics of what one would do when they come into power. So again, we have a video that, in fact, there's no other way to describe what we're going to see in the video than sad, right? There's no other way to characterize it. So, producer, if you could play us that video, and then it will lead us in our conversation.
Here in the Central Region, the harsh reality comes to life. A dining hall prefect, Sambali, informs first-year students of the insufficient food supply. Their meals are reduced to simple, often nutritionally inadequate options. This situation is not unique to the Central Region, but is echoed across schools in other regions.
It's unfortunate that our food is not enough. As I have told you earlier, we have no food at the stores. And the master is in Accra now, fighting for food for our own benefit. So we are pleading with you to manage the little here. And we promise you very soon there will be enough food for us so that we can all enjoy ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this video looks like one of those international NGOs videos, like World Vision, when they would say, oh, show some videos of hungry kids in Africa and soliciting for funds on TV. I mean, this video almost looks like one of those appeals for funds. I mean, and I mean, Zita, you are somebody who is very familiar with the education terrain. You are very passionate about education. How do you think this particular situation would impact, conditions in our schools, especially with regard to their studies? How do you expect a kid to really come out and be successful under these circumstances?
Yeah, that is really sad to watch. But again, I did watch Joy News's extensive documentary on the empty plates, and I did listen. And in as much as most of the panelists, specifically Kwesi Kwarteng, who is apparently the spokesperson for the current government when it comes to the Ministry of Education, in as much as all of them believe that it was a good policy, I think the free SHS policy was not a good policy. Policies are made based on what? Robust data. But again, the political terrain in Ghana, every political party has a particular, something they did that is attached to them. When we look at President Kufuor, he came with the national health insurance policy. That's like his thing. We also have the school feeding program. I think that again, the MPP should have gone with the school feeding program and expanded it. We need to understand that the school feeding program was only implemented in primary schools. So junior high schools were not part. And so if the purpose of the free SHS was to what? Expand access and ensure that financial barriers are removed. I did my doctoral research on Ghana failing to achieve the Millennium Development Goals. And two key goals that Ghana missed was what? Ensuring that all children in Ghana complete primary basic education and gender equity. And we did not achieve that, and we are jumping toward free senior high school. And so I am not surprised that the policy is a colossal failure. I'm not surprised. Again, if they could not sustain, they could not support. But again, they'll say that, oh, the school feeding program is not an MPP policy, so perhaps they didn't want to extend it. However, if the school feeding program had challenges, they could not even feed children in basic school. How were they going to? Nana Addo, again, just like many politicians, he threw it, he slept, he had a dream. He said, what can I use to entice Ghanaians? Free SHS. He did not look at the data. He did not give us funding sources. Where are you going to find the resources to fund such a policy? If you find the resources, within which timeline would those resources, allow you to do what you're supposed to, which is not just to give access, but also ensure that the children are fed properly. So from where I stand, and somebody who has done a thorough review of Ghana's educational policy from the year 2000 to 2015, looking at how Ghana fared when it came to the Millennium Development Goals on education, which is ensuring that all children complete a primary basic education, and that we have gender parity, which is ensuring that all girls and boys who are enrolled complete. We failed at those parameters. We did not achieve the Millennium Development Goals. So I don't know how it makes sense for us to even start a free SHS policy. But like we know in Africa's and Ghana's politics, every politician wants to have a flag, a flagship program that they can say, I did, it is for me, and that goes to hurt us on the national level. I think that these are just some of the byproducts of not a well thought policy, and a policy that was just used to entice and of course delude the masses who do not read, who are less knowledgeable, and of course are desperate. I can understand we want to make education accessible so the poor child can also have access. But when they have access and they're hungry, what type of graduate are we seeking to churn out? So for me, it wasn't a good policy. We could have continued to ensure that at least every child in Ghana at the primary level is studying in a decent school where they have decent resources, where teachers have the resources, and to ensure that all children who enroll at the primary level, at the basic school level, complete junior high school before we would have extended to senior high school.
All right. Okay. I mean, it's interesting that you brought up the Joy FM National Dialogue on the matter. And there's another video that the headmaster of one of the secondary schools, I think it's Jirapa Secondary School, is talking about the feeding situation as well. And if we could watch that, and I'll come to the other panelists on this matter.
Viewpoint on that as well.
Sammy, a very slippery question.
Even he is worried.
You know,
Or is the headmaster?
being a national secretary and for that matter, a national executive, maybe I will cite an example that is closer to me. I wish I were asked to come with a list or some reported or allegations of victimizations in the past, not necessarily in the present, but since the implementation of the Free Senior High School. Things may seemingly or may apparently look quite smooth now because of as compared to the initial stages of the implementation of the Free Senior High School. I want to be very frank with you, especially at the very beginning of the implementation. Like I indicated, unfortunately, I'm not being able to gather data, but there are in the history of the implementation, there have been instances where under normal circumstances, certain utterances made by individual heads or certain actions should not have been as serious as it. Let me give you a very, I started by saying that I'll give you an example where I myself I'm involved. In 2020, when we went to Western region for our conference, and I think we had it at Archbishop Porter's Senior High School in Tadi. In the welcome address of our president, that Alhaji A.B. Abubakar, he's the immediate past headmaster for Amas in Kumasi. He just handed over to Reverend Father Stephen, my current headmaster. Just a remark that the free HSS policy needed to be reviewed. It was a big problem. And I now laugh over it because, over the years, the wounds have been healed and, we were summoned. And I'm being very serious about it. Just the use of the word review. That time, Alhaji, like I indicated, was the president. Kwame Edumi was secretary. I was the vice secretary. Dr. Shine, who is headmistress for West African Senior High School in Accra, there, was the treasurer. Mr. Fiamawel, the Accra Academy headmaster, was
So you were summoned because you used the word review.
Just the word review.
And what happened?
And there are subtle ways. There are occasions. I'm sure if you open the WhatsApp line and ask headmasters to indicate various ways in which some people have been intimidated in one way or the other by making certain utterances, by taking certain actions, the number of responses you get will be enormous. That is not to suggest in any way that also, in every society there are the bad nuts. Some have acted in a way and a manner which cannot be justified in any way. In any case, we're always the first people to consider. But to totally say that victimization had not existed or it didn't happen in one way or the other, well, I don't know. But for me, I think in one way or the other, unfortunately, it happened. And I may not be able to give you the statistics now, but in reality, it happened. I tell you that even this, this program, when it was advertised, if I tell you the number of cautions that I got, I say, oh, no, but it is not like what you rightly put it. I don't think I'm coming to a slaughterhouse. I'm only coming to air my views.
All right. Okay, producer, if we can stop here.
It's nothing new. We have aired it over the years.
And then
we have been engaging with one.
Yes. So, but before we come to the question of victimization, when it comes to questioning the reasoning and sort of the whole strategy of the free SHS 10, I still want us to dwell on the question of the quality of food, right? It's expensive. You are feeding kids morning, afternoon, evening. If these kids were living with their parents, it will be the full responsibility of parents to feed them, give them a square meal a day. But isn't it justified that there's going to come times when government doesn't have the money to give these kids the adequate nutrition that they may require. But again, we have a situation where we are spending so much money on the National Cathedral, and you guys can remind me about how much has been sunk into it. So this is the conflict that I get with respect to this matter, that we understand there is a heavy financial burden on the government, but then in the midst of this, there are other extravagant expenditure that is going on. Ni, how do we address the situation? I mean, is this,
Okay, Chairman, I've been, and again, thank you very much, but I've been working a lot on this free SHS thing, so I have a lot to share, and I do not want to give any grace to this MPP government for the problems they've created for themselves. Yes, we all know the free SHS, the policy is a good one, but I want to remind everybody that there was a policy in place before this one, and that was the progressive free SHS by the NDC, which aimed to gradually, increase access to free education, starting with the pilot phase in certain regions and expanding coverage over time. The policy provided partial funding for high school students by exempting parents from paying certain costs, such as examination fees, entertainment fees, library fees, whatever, all the fees, right? But it was, in phases. Of course, the MPP won by the share, by just using this populist policy of saying free SHS for everybody. And as a result, of course, one of the advantages of this policy is that it's improved enrollment. But as I said, the progressive free education provided by the NDC also increased enrollment. The only difference with this policy is that what they actually did was also, in addition to, of course, it's free, everybody, it removed the economic that barrier. But aside that, they also kind of removed, or previously, if you get aggregate 30, you probably wouldn't get any public school. So these folks who got 30 above will go to private institution. So what they, in addition to the making it free, they also said if you even get aggregate 50, you deserve to go to the public school. So the enrollment is not only the increase in the enrollment is not only coming from the removal of the access, it's also coming from actually giving or letting students who did not perform well through the public system, right? And of course, if those students will pay for the private institutions, but now you've made it free for them, so of course they'll take advantage of that. So I just wanted to make that point clear that the enrollment numbers is not only because of the policy of the free thing, it's also because they actually made it that people who perform poorly could go to a public institution. But the problem is the education actually free, right? And if you look at a report from the Africa Watch people, they are saying that they interviewed people, a lot of parents, and in 2023, these people paid around 6,000 Ghana cedis for education, and that is on average for each parent, 6,000 Ghana cedis. And what they actually found is that the government actually paid around 1,500 cedis for the year. So from these numbers, you can see that the government, if you add those two numbers together, the government is actually looking at the free SHS is only taking into account of covering only 25% of the cost for basic education, only 25%, right? And that is why it's not surprising that the perception of people of the students, and I'm talking about economically disadvantaged students who receive this free SHS, they kind of see they don't like the policy, because if you have somebody who is from a poor background, right, and they have to cough up all this money, because parents are paying 6,000, and government is paying only 1,500. They have to cough up all this money to for this other cause, is they would like it. And there are a lot of rich people, and I schooled in Ghana, a lot of rich people in Ghana. So why can't we have a system where only people who actually deserve to be given that free thing, and doing so, the government can actually take up more of the cost, so that those people who are actually poor will actually get a free education and not just paying 25% of it, right?
Okay.
But aside that, there are a lot of problems with the policy. We've heard about overcrowding due to lack of infrastructure, classrooms, furniture, lodging, right? And insufficient logistic, lack of teachers because all the money is going to this, so no motivation for teachers. Sometimes they don't have textbooks, right? And
so, I think we would have to dedicate a full episode for this subject, right?
Yeah.
So I would like you to just be brief, and then we can move along, and then
let me come back to, I think the question you asked, so that I don't deviate again.
Yeah. So basically, I was asking that. The fact that there's inadequate nutrition.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I was actually coming to that point, and the last problem I wanted to talk about is the funding problems. Right now, the budget, if you look at the average budget execution on the free SHS, on average is around 70%. And what that means is that the schools are not getting the food they need, right? And even in this last year, the budget execution is around 51%. So that is why we are seeing this problem of shortages of food, because the food make up around 70% of the entire budget, right? So if the food is making 70% of the entire budget, and only 51% of the budget is actually executed, who is going to suffer? Is the food, right? And that's why the students are not getting good food to eat and stuff like that. So the problem, the government created the problem, and they don't want to hear anything about what needs to be done, and that's why they are victimizing people just by saying the word review.
Okay. Yeah. So what you are saying is that the government actually budgets for it.
Yes.
But they don't end up spending.
Yes, because they don't have the money. Yeah, they don't have the money, and for some reason they are failing everybody. Right? You budget for it,
but they run budget deficits. So what it means is that they run a budget deficit entirely, and it goes into a lot of stuff. But then there's a shortfall in committing to the commitment to the budgeted amount for free SHS.
Yes, and sometimes even the money, what they pay goes like a year after, right? They pay the money like a year after everything, and who is gonna come up with the money to feed the students, right? So all these inefficiencies, and of course it's costly because you are feeding a lot of people. But again, as Zita or Hajia said, you didn't look at the numbers, you didn't look at the data, you just made a decision. And it's poorly implemented, and that's why they don't want to hear anything, because they think if you say anything, being political. But no, there are problems on the ground. The students don't get the money, and if they don't get the money, it's the 70% of the budget goes to food. So who's going to suffer is the student, and you expect a student to learn when they've not actually eaten good food, or even if they eat, the food is not, the nutrition is imbalanced, right? So
okay, so look, I'm going to ship the question of victimization to the very last, but then again, there's a final video that has a parent talking about her experience with a child, and once that video plays, I would come to Hajia. She has a child in secondary school in Ghana right now. Maybe I don't know, but we would come to her after the video plays.
Make a
please, Kwesi.
Nobody has complained.
Kwesi, hold on. We are all talking about the fact that there's no food is not moving, and all of that. Your child has been there before, and I think she's still there. You're a mother, probably. What stories do you hear from your child in terms of feeding?
Well, my ward is still in secondary school, and the stories are many. There are times that you do not have adequate to feed on. Okay. So you have to supplement that with what you have in your box. If you do not have, then you go hungry. There are periods in other schools where you go to the dining and you have hot water and soup served as lunch.
Hot water
and soup.
And soup.
Which means that come with your gari. Now, I'm not going to mention that. No, definitely, I won't mention that. Yes, we will solve it. That's why we are here. That's why we are here. No, I'm not laying claims.
No. Hold on. You have your time.
I would mention. No, I won't mention this. I haven't even mentioned. Yes. And it has happened.
Kwesi,
yes.
Kwesi,
I won't mention
you have your time. Kwesi, please. Kwesi, please. Kwesi.
Nobody has complained.
Kwesi, hold on. You have your time to respond.
I haven't said morning, afternoon, evening.
But you think that she'll sit here and the case that is not happening in her school?
I would mention that. That is also for my own credibility.
And I'm saying, that
it has happened in another school, and I have heard that. You go with your gari because the soup is there. So the hot water is there for you, which means that there was no gari at that time. In my war school, they have given them gari with pepper as supper continuously, for because that was what was available at that time. If they have gari for bags of gari for a particular time without other foodstuffs, that is what will be served.
Like the child secretary just
exactly. And so it is not as if we are making up stories. These might be isolated.
All right. Okay, we can just take it from here. I think the video continues, but I think it's enough for us to I mean, the lady went on to say that one time her son came home from school, and then she said something to the effect that has he turned into a stick
flat.
Or something like that.
I think I've seen this before somewhere, that the child turned flat.
Yeah, they're basically out of undernutrition, basically. So Hajia, maybe your child goes to one of the Ivy League secondary schools in Ghana and then hasn't experienced this. But
like I said, country broke or no guy, country no broke. We all day inside. Look, it is very sad to watch. And talk of political vindictiveness. The lady is pouring out her pain, what she has seen. Her child is going through something. And you are sitting next to her, asking her not to say it because what? She's exposing, the rot. This is what I think Ghanaians have to do to start coming out to expose it. What is supposed to be free to parents has now become the rope that is hanging parents on their neck, that they are struggling to remove so that it doesn't strangle them to death. Free SHS has cost parents more money than they would have spent, as Dr. Nee stated. It wasn't implemented well. It was done in a hasty and a rushed decision where they just used it to score political points, which is cheap at the expense of our children's education and their life. I don't only have a child in Ghana, but I sponsor many children who are not biologically mine, because I would hate to see a child waste away and not being educated, because it is a right for every child to have access to education. So I take that, very highly. When you go to my child's school, for instance, on Sundays, they serve them tea. Now, we have children, just tea. We have children who are from, long distance towns and villages, whose parents don't have the luxury of paying them a visit. Visitation is always Sunday from a certain period to, and I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to endanger my child's life. So I'm just going to use the other kids' schools. Children have gone to school that they haven't seen their parents until they pick their bags and go back to their villages or towns. Imagine that child who has been given a one-time or a term fee, feeding money. They come to school sometimes, which ends up being stolen because our kids are somehow become thieves because they have to feed, they have to eat. So the slightest mistake you make by letting someone see the money that's on you, they take it, which has happened to my son many times, but thankfully he gets visited every weekend. And I asked myself, what about the children who don't have access to having people come visit them, to bring them decent food, to be able to balance the nourishment that they need? Every child needs to develop well by having very good meal, nutritional or nutritious meal for their growth. What the woman is saying, every home is suffering, is faced with that thing. Free SHS was a lie. Free school feeding was a deceitful thing that was brought on Ghanaians. And I am glad that this thing has backfired during this time where NPP is still in government. But what is bothering and worrying me is the plight of our children today.
Okay.
Did they ask for it to be put on them? No. So I think parents should stand up to the government or to politicians and let them know that they don't want it again. Someone is saying it's free and Kenya way and Kamebanko school. It is illiteracy. The level of illiteracy is why this thing flew to this point. Otherwise, I was against it because I knew it wasn't feasible. I knew it couldn't be implemented, the right way. We saw what Nkrumah did during his time. Nkrumah took education free, made it free at remote areas where there was a highly deprivation of education. Talk of the North and some areas, and even that the South was beneficiary. Some of the people from the South were beneficiary to that free education. Now, if you talk to some people in the South, they'll tell you, I went to Navrongo Secondary, I went to Boko Secondary, I went to this. How do you know there? I went to school there. Okay, so I think we need to go back as parents, and this is something NDC should take up seriously and have people go into, because they are the largest in opposition, go into our villages and educate people, wake them up, bring them to speed what is happening, because some people just hear free and they are taken away with that. It's never free. It is a lie. It is deceitful. And I think it's about time they come out and say, and be honest with Ghanaians and speak the truth, and then be sincere to them and say, look, we failed. We thought we could implement it, but it's not working out for us. And at the end of the day, our children are suffering. It's sad what's happening.
All right, Haja, thank you. So, I mean, on this channel, we are all for justice, right? And so let it not seem as if we are advocating for sort of a class-based education system where only the wealthy have access. We are totally for free education for everyone, but getting a so-called free education at the expense of good health, proper nutrition, especially these kids are in the age where they need proper nutrition to fully mature into properly functioning adults. If you are going to receive a so-called free education at the expense of all these, I think it's equally unjust. And we need to be very clear about that fact. What proper education can you receive being constantly undernourished? That is a question. But there's a very interesting question in our chat asking about the way forward. And as I mentioned before, we are going to dedicate a whole session to free SHS because there are people on this platform that are originally dedicated to education. Others have specifically studied the free SHS and have a lot to say about it. And so we will do that. But let me come to James finally on this matter, and then we'll move to our next topic and then conclude. The issue of victimization, right? Is it characteristic of this country? Is there no longer dissent in Ghana? Can people disagree and express their dissatisfaction of something that is going on in that country without being victimized in any shape or form? We saw it in that video right there on national TV where the spokesperson was trying to shut the lady down who has had a personal experience with this. I think you are muted, James.
Thank you. Yes, I think as you said at the very beginning and said that again, it would be good to just devote maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sessions to this particular topic. Why? And so probably doing about 30 minutes, we'll be doing disservice to the topic broadly. Why am I saying that? Because free SHS is a signature policy of the NPP, right? That is the policy. That's the only thing they talk about. I was actually surprised when Asenso Boashi did not mention free SHS as one of the things that NPP has done in the Ashanti region, because this is the signature policy of the government. So there's so much to be said about it, particularly when, the NPP comes out with its manifesto, and then the NDC comes out with its manifesto. They will have a lot to say about this. But about victimization, yes, when your signature policy is being a flop, a complete disaster, it's a mess. It has poisoned the education system broadly and has poisoned the country in the process. When your signature policy is at that level, you have nothing else to lean against, so you are only looking to victimize people. You don't want people to talk about it. That is what is happening with NPP. And so it's a disgrace because that is the elephant in the room right now. They don't want people they just want us to forget about it completely. So if you take that on, they want to victimize you. And therefore, I think it would be a good thing once they have a manifesto out, clearly, because that's their signature policy, how they're going to defend that. Then NDC will come out with its manifesto as well, so we can have a lot to chat about. We can have a lot to say. That's what I can say for now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Chairman James. So there's one last issue that I want us to talk about, which I characterize as taking out the trash. And if our producer has the video, he can play it for us, and then we can take it from there. Okay. I think we have some bots infiltrating our system.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Mark, if
Yes.
we could respond to the comment on the comment by the person streaming saying that is there something we can do moving forward? Like Nee rightly said, it needed to have been rolled on a pilot basis. Again, we should not have forgotten primary education. And that is my biggest problem with Ghana and other African countries at large. We don't sign on to global proclamations like the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. And then by 2015, we do not look back to reflect on how we've done and what lessons have we learned. Basic education is a flop. You go to a village in Northern region, in Volta region, in Eastern region, children are still studying under trees. Kids are still studying under trees. Teachers do not have chalk, which even the particulate matter leads to respiratory issues. Teachers do not have that. And how do we just skip that and move to free SHS? The school feeding program, I just checked. And I want to correct myself. It's a flagship program of President Kufuor. Why not continue it and ensure that at least children, because the free school feeding program is for public schools. I am not a beneficiary of the public school system, but it's for public schools because public schools, even the primary level, struggle. So any government that comes to power, we are not going to say, oh, this is a policy of the NPP, so they will not restructure. I like what Joy News did with the whole national dialogue. What can be done? We want to expand access, but we needed to do it again on a pilot basis, and most importantly, I think on a substitution quota basis. Some parents can afford it. Give them 50% substitution. You substitute the other 50. Those who are really 400% have that access, but it needed to be piloted, and specific regions should have been taken to start. But they did it on a mass because every politician and every government in Ghana wants to say, I did this, I did that, to be able to win power, and that has always worked to our detriment as a nation. And so I'm glad that all my colleagues are on board, and we are going to dedicate an entire discussion on education, because Me, I do not want my doctoral thesis, which is somewhere nobody's reading, to go to waste. It will be an opportunity to bring back my findings and my recommendations. So to the person who asked that brilliant question, when whoever comes into power after December 2024 elections, it will be a time to really overhaul and see how we can structure the free SHS system to really serve those it was intended to serve. I have a niece who is going to secondary school, and she has an auntie like me and two uncles who live in America. Ideally, I went to Akosomo International School. It's a private school. We could afford it. And so she benefiting free SHS, is it really, and perhaps taken away from a child who really needs it? So it needs to be structured, and we need to have a substitution system where people who are really poor can get 100%, and people who come from homes where they can afford it can get 50% substitution.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, many advocates say that it should be a means-tested approach, where, for instance, those who need it would be the ones that would benefit from it.
And Chairman, if I could say something quick.
Yes.
And we all agree that it should be a means-tested approach, right? Have you ever heard Mr. Digitalization saying that he's going to use his digitalization effort to solve this problem? No, because all he cares is making useless Ghana Post apps, and he causes digitalization.
Absolutely.
All I can say to end this is, when the wind blows, the very terrible annals of the techie shall be exposed for the public perusal. That's all I can say on this.
Okay, well, that's a very poetic ending. But the problem with Ghana is lack of data, right? We don't have data. We don't collect data. We think that it's like, I don't know what the mindset is about data. We think it's a useless endeavor, right? We don't dedicate resources to data collection. And so I think that may also be the reason why we are unable to make it means tested, because if we're going to take that approach, what data are we going to rely on? And again, I would advocate or appeal to any government that comes into power to take data collection very seriously. I mean, in the US, it makes your life easy. It makes research easy. It makes findings. It makes it easy to come to certain findings and conclusions that would aid you in your policy delivery. And so if we don't take these things seriously, like things like free SHS, we're just, winging it and flying blind, as I would always say. So I think data collection needs to be taken seriously in Ghana. But
is there a research budget? There's no research budget.
Yeah.
Nothing. When they're reading their budget, where is the budget for research? And that is why some of my colleagues, we would love to go back home and help in academia, but there is no research budget because the country does not respect data and even respect people who have the expertise. People eat fufu, they eat banku, they go to sleep and they wake up, free SHS, like Baumia is saying, alleviation of tax.
I disagree. I think they knew what they were doing. It was a deliberate attempt to fool people, to deceive people, to manipulate people, and to use our children as scapegoats to be able to pass, to win the election. Let's go back. This is when I challenge and task every Ghanaian to speak up, to make sure that they make it their, concern. When a child comes home with a prospectus, it's longer than a receipt from the supermarket. Why? Because all the money the parents is trying to save from this education is going back into the prospectus. And where do the prospectus go? They go back to the school. Yeah. My child would buy 2 key soaps to go to school and don't end up even using just an inch of the key soap. And then the next time he's home for a 5 days or 5 minutes vacation, he's been asked to bring back the same prospectus that he took before. It's just complete thievery. And we have allowed this to, go on for a very long time. And I think it's about time. Let's call it what it is. Let's say it as we are supposed to say it, because it is on us. It is on our future children. Leaders, our children. The burden is too much. Enough is enough. And I leave it to NDC to do the work. This time, 2020, we managed in exposing a lot of things about the NPP, but somehow they are so slippery, they are so good in getting away with certain things, and it's all because of the propaganda they are able to fly. Just look at this issue of this man coming out to say that the
General Secretary.
No, that Professor Nana Jane is a Northerner. What does it matter? We need to move away. It's a Northerner and is married to Mahama, and there's no consequence. So they know that they can say anything. They can just come and throw anything out there, and then at the end of the day, they are still going to vote for us. So now I think we have to vote by our conscience. We have to make decisions and choices by our conscience. We have to sit down and compare the two and know who had the people of Ghana at heart, who is looking out for Ghana, who has the right policies, who is telling us what is feasible and what is not feasible, who has the records that we can rely on, who has, already demonstrated leadership skills that we can, depend on. I think it's about time we do that. But the utterances, the rhetorics and all that, it's just out because there's lack of accountability, there's lack of people holding this, politicians by their balls to do the right thing. I think that is why it is like that. And I'm about tired, as a citizen of Ghana, as one who cares. Some of us, the diasporans, are the ones who suffer the more, and they listen to us. I challenge everyone who is in the diaspora to sit up at this point and say, look, I don't care about politics now. I am looking out for my country. I'm looking out for my mothers and fathers, the farmers, and the people who are making our economy grow. I am looking out for our teachers who travel from their homes to distant places to educate our children. I'm crying for our nurses who are struggling to be able to buy soap to wash their things. I'm crying for the professors in the universities who have not been paid. It's too much. It's a lot is going on in our country. And it's about time that we hold MPP accountable. And someone will say it's a political thing. If MDC were to be doing that, if PSC were to be doing that, if PPP were to be doing that, we will still speak the same way we are speaking. And it so happened that MPP is in power, and this is why they have to feel the heat. Enough is enough.
Okay, well, perfectly articulated. James, you had something to say?
Yes, quickly. I think I heard about side chicks and I heard about balls, and then so it's quite interesting. But that's the reality, because the conditions back home in Ghana terrible. I keep using the word poison. I think the NPP has intentionally damaged the country. I don't see what they are doing to elevate the conditions our people are going through, or the country as a whole, the image of the country. And this is a party that has failed. Bawumia is going around asking people that they should give him, look at him, and he's coming to start on a blank slate. I don't know what he's doing with his old slates. The old slates are out there. We're going to hold him accountable. Attach all the old slates around him so that he cannot have a way around starting on a fresh approach to. There's nothing that he's bringing. He's just deceiving people, and the NDC will have to go after him and make him pay for it. He has no credibility. He is not a person who can turn Ghana around. We've seen him for the 7 years or so. He was successful in 2016. Everybody thought he was the guy. 2020, he managed to deceive Ghanaians and is looking for the 3rd time. This is enough. It's enough. That's all I can say for now. Thank you.
All right. Once bitten, twice shy. Anyway, on this note, as usual, the minutes just flew by like that. And we could go on for 2 more hours without even feeling that time is passing by. Again, there was one other issue I wanted to talk about, but our producer doesn't have the video. And so, and I think the issue to some extent is even beneath us. So, we may just conclude with
No, nothing is beneath. You see, we always think that things are juvenile. We sat here, and I know, because I did mention that. I think it's about what's the MPP?
It's about Chairman Wood to me's comments about Prof. Nana, the fact that
calling Professor Nana Jane and Northerner and also calling her a witch. Look, I think it's time they hold people like him accountable. We sat there and thought of Papanu as juvenile, and it cost, you know, a man his whole political ambition. His vision was crushed. His dreams for our country was crushed. Papanu is the reason why we are where we are today. Someday, someone just woke up and decided to create confusion in the camp or in the heads of Ghanaians, and NDC allowed it to slide. Enough is enough. This man must be held accountable for making those statements. How Professor Nana Jane is a Northerner, that bit is not my problem, because I'm a Northerner and I'm very proud of my origin as a Northerner. My heritage is me, and I would never deny. I can never be an Ashanti. I can never be a Voltairean. I can never, even if I marry and I have children, intermarriage or whatever, I am still a Northerner. And for that matter, I'll stand by that. Even if she's a Northerner, we claim her as a Northerner, fine. But to call her a witch, to say that she's miserable and she doesn't have confidence or she has something about herself, I think the children of Professor Nana Jane and then John Mahama should hold this guy accountable, because it is derogatory, it is defamation of character, and I think they should bring a lawsuit on this idiot, on this illiterate, on this primitive guy who has nothing but always sitting on radio and talking as if they own Ghana. It's enough. I'm beginning to, and it annoys me when they say he's a Northerner. Northerners have some decorum, some respect for adults, some especially women. I have my brother here who is a Northerner. He would never speak like that about a woman who is twice, you know, his age. For you to sit down and insult a woman his caliber, someone who has climbed the ladder to where she is. She didn't just wake up from a prostitution dorm and being asked to be the running maid. This woman fought from day one to where she is. So for you to just get up and think that you can call her all sorts of names, and because of in the name of politics is allowed, no, it shouldn't be allowed. And this is when all women, politically affiliated or not, should stand up against things like that. Kennedy Japan made the same stupid mistakes and we spoke against it. And he's doing it again. I think we shouldn't allow it. It's unfortunate. It's disgraceful and shameful, and we shouldn't accept it to happen. And I expect Dr. Zika to have a word on that.
I mean,
think of it as juvenile.
I think that
take serious, and we should correct that. Let him.
Yes. Okay, but I mean, I think that, you know, people like Chema Woon to me are a product of the rot that is in our country, right? I mean, how did this guy get money? You understand? Is it not from the inefficiency that is going on in the country? I don't even know how to describe it, right? He made his money through Galamsey, which in itself is a huge rot in our country. So he's a product of that.
To me,
yeah.
But Northern Go TV here catch will say, I challenge Nana Opoku Agyeman, so free Central Region. Baby Obia Ufri Bia na ye. Babia Obia Ufri Bia ye. Me free Central Region. Me ma free Central Region. Nana Opoku Agyeman on free Central Region. Rollins was bold. Abra Rollins was hono. Okofa aka free Central Region or the coil South. Anya bone. Rollins saba be repeat South. From a year, Professor Tamers, or Sada Nabai. But John Dramani Mahama were repeating North. Yes.
North, say.
Now, Pukwaji, my free Northern region.
Chemawuntu.
Me say no, I'm not Opukwaji, my own free Central region.
So, Mamino, or why no dada, no, and I said, one of us of the castle, Eshanatadi.
Dabi. Me challenge no obeware oni nukunu efri Ashanti region Mr. Opoku Agyeman ana omuko ye adwuma wo Cape Coast University abra omuko university ho na no mo ye adwuma no nyina no ana omuhu wo mo ho no mo ware ye ana ofa bema ni din edeto no so bema ni fra Ashanti region emfia duonu ni 20 good years ni ana awariye na guo nti abra awariye no guye no ana din no aka no so 2012 ɛna John Dramani Mahama wɔware ɛyɛ Nana Opoku Agyeman secretly. Hey, yes, asempa na meka kyerɛ. Asempa na meka asempa. Oh, I'm telling you, sir.
That's one. Nana Opoku Agyeman free central region. Northern region.
Free northern region.
2, 2012. And a former President John Mahama. Warring secretly.
Or warring secretly. And your husband and wife.
And yet flag bearer and running mate.
No. Oma Dada Lodina. Oma Dada Lodina Mahama.
How?
Dear me can say. Na Opoku Agyeman in free central region. So see me boy on fan the birth certificate in Nature. Me see on fan the birth certificate. Of Northern. Since here, they may present me the trigger. PNDC time. No, Johnny 31st
December Women Movement.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, producer, I mean, I think we've had enough. Let's go for it. Let's take out the trash.
He's an idiot. He's a case of a child being buried and a placenta being left on the earth to frustrate people. This man is notoriously, making comments like that, and people have allowed. Recently, he was in the same hot soup with the king of their town, the Ashantis. First of all, there's no Ashanti who doesn't have a northern blood in them, so he's right about that.
Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, let's let's go back
to our history. There's no Ashanti, an indigenous, an original Ashanti who doesn't have a northern blood in them. So he might be right for calling even he himself. He looks like a frafra. They said he's a frafra. He looks like my brother. But except we don't want him. He's the ones we have ostracized, the type that we would take to the village, the forest and dump for the gods to take him. If he was in our town, we would have sacrificed him to the gods of our lands, because we don't need people like him. This idiot has sat on television numerous times and used unpalatable words on President Mahama, and also now Professor Nana Jane. My problem is women have fought so hard to get to where we are today. We've broken the glass ceiling to a point where we are given a seat at the table. Making such utterances is setting us back. Like I said earlier, she didn't just wake up from the prostitution dorm and became who she is today. She climbed a ladder. She deserved it. She was not just dreaming of becoming a president or a vice president. She worked her way towards it. So for him to sit down and call such a woman and lie, especially trying to break someone's marriage, trying to destroy the reputation of a woman, her caliber, is very worrying. And I think her family, Professor Nana Jane, should take this matter seriously. Her children, especially, because it is their reputation. Now, when they walk out, people will be questioning. So your mother is married to President Mahama in secret, and we don't know. Let him go and answer. Prove that they are really married. Yeah. I think something has to be done now, so that and his likes will change. Remember when Kennedy Agyapong called for that journalist to be murdered, and they ended up murdering him. What happened? It's the same thing that they are doing. They are planting something in the heads of voters, so that there are people who don't have the understanding to think, would think, okay, so this is what it is. So now they are getting to confuse them. Then the election will overturn.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's they need to do this up.
Yes. Obviously, Wontumi is a trashy individual, and again, I would blame the system that encourages illegal money. This guy is emboldened by that kind of money. And if we were to solve the problems and take out all the rot and sort of the in the system, and only you can only make money through legal means, people like Wontumi won't have the platform that they currently have. And so if we fix our system, we will fix these trashy individuals as well. So, but Zita, I would like to come to you. I want us to end right on the hour. And so we don't have enough time, but let's hear you on this.
Sure, I would be quick about it so my
Yeah.
colleagues can, give their final comments on this particular issue. Definitely I do hear your sentiment where you talk about, being beneath us, because like they say in our adage, if you see a madman who is, naked and roaming around the market and you, the same person, indulge, then we begin to question, who the madman is. Wound to me is an example, and I don't want it to look like I'm targeting the Akan speaking Ashantis in Ghana, but they have this superiority complex that Ghana belongs to them, and every other ethnic ethnic group is like not fit to be in the office unless there is an Akan attached to it. Wound to me is a menace, but as somebody who has close to 70,000 followers on TikTok, I hear that rhetoric every time of, we are talking about money and you are here talking about education. People challenge people. Nobody cares about your degree. What have your degrees done? You have a PhD and so on. We care about money and who has money. And that is why the system has created the likes of Wound to me, Kennedy Japan, who do not speak as if they are people who were raised. You came out of a woman. Every man walking around lived and thrived in the womb of a woman for 9 months before being pushed out. And that alone requires that you give women some basic level of decency and respect. But you see the likes of Wound to me, where we have a group who feels like, oh, it's not about your education. It's just about the money you have. And once you have money, you can be reckless with your talk. We see it as Wound to me. We see it as Kennedy Japan. And we are beginning to see it with this third force called Shedda. And that is, a problem where a particular group have no respect for credibility. They have no respect for people with a proven record. And so long as somebody has money, it is okay for them to speak anyhow. I see that thought process on social media every time, where people come on my page and go like, so who cares about your degree? We want money. We want people who can do this and that. And they liken somebody who has money as somebody who has the ability to transform Ghana and solves Ghana's problem. He is a menace. And I know Professor Nana will ignore him. Again, it's a dent on his image, a dent on her. I don't think it's a dent on her image.
It is.
Well,
she's a woman of a very high dignity. For someone to accuse her of marrying someone in secrecy, it is against her. No, it is. He needs to come out and clarify that. Where did I marry President Mahama in 2012? No, look, you people always see things as juvenile and as something that is a non-issue. It is an issue. Like I said, Papanu was a non-issue before it became an issue. So it needs to stop.
Hajia, if I may land, well, I personally, because I'm a woman of a certain, I would not think that whatever such a guy says is the truth. That is bigamy. That is bigamy. That's against the law. President Mahama is already married. It doesn't make sense. They cook up anything to get us to be emotional, to get us to react, to get us to use obscene language. And they say, oh, look at these people. Like they get us to do that. So let us not, I hear you. It is painful as a woman. I hear what you're saying, Hajia, but it is a bait to get us to be on that, very rudimentary level and madman level. And let us not descend.
It's not a bait. It's planting something in the heads of Ghanaians. I want them to get it out of Ghanaians. You, as a level-headed person, will not pay attention to it or believe it. People listen to him. You have 70,000. He has millions of people listening to him. Like I said, we sat down and nonanticists, kids that are of my child's age, came out and lied on President Mahama that he was the Papano, and journalists carried it on, and it became a big issue. No,
and it's not even just that. It's also a confirmed story, right? Look at how ridiculous it is, but people actually got to believe it, right? So I agree with Haji on this one. Yeah.
Okay. So, there are a lot of gullible people in our country. Everywhere else in the world, right? So usually there's a large cohort of gullible people that would believe in it. And so, I initially thought this was beneath our, but as Hajia has it articulated very clearly, that sometimes you need to, come out clearly.
You need to go into the gutter with them. That's it.
I mean, yeah.
Remember when Manasseh reported on the Ford issue? It turned out to be beans.
Yeah, yes,
how
exactly.
did that affect President Mahama?
Yes.
It affected
So sometimes we need
so
to
much.
shut these things down quickly before they escalate into something bigger. I mean, I don't know if I mean we've run out of time. I want to right on the hour, and I don't know if we have a minute. If Chairman James wants a piece of it, I mean,
I'll take that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, I think Wontumi is not fit to clean the shoes of Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. As I said on this show before, I was Jane's student for a year, and I know the kind of woman she is. We're very lucky to have her. But Hajia made it very clear. These are gangs that are planted. NPP is like that. Wontumi is there for a reason. There are a lot of them like that. They don't respect the system, and so they have to be taken on directly. We've seen them before, and we know exactly what they're trying to do this time. So taking them on and making sure that these things don't become the issues of the day is very important for NDC to do that.
All right. Well, thanks very much. Succinctly articulated. Anyway, once again, I think we have to draw the curtains here. The time came by so quickly, and I can't wait to have you guys again next week so that we will delve into. I mean, there's just so much to talk about and little time to do so. So to our viewers, we thank you for staying with us. Share our channel far and wide. Join us every Saturday at 2 p.m. and then you won't be disappointed. So, well, have a good rest of the evening.
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern, yes. And then
6
it'll be 6 p.m. in Ghana, right? And then in the UK, 6 p.m. as well, right? Okay.
If I may, I want to say shout outs to my brother. My brother was commenting and he was sharing with his friends in America, but shout outs to you, Choice. Shout outs to my cousin who also opened the comment section, Wilson Tagbo. I really appreciate it. Like a lot of my family have been like sending me messages to support. So it's good to see them that they're not just watching, they're engaging. So thank you guys. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
You let a yum 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 yum. Nayela pere, matinayela pese. You let a yum 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 yum.